until today's current times in 2024, blackouts nationwide have doubled. So this is a telltale sign that as the population increases and also as global temperatures increase as well too, this is a deadly combination on our aging infrastructure. So America not only has aging infrastructure, such as water systems, the electrical grid. But on top of that, we're entering a new extreme weather era. So this summer, we're going to see temperatures like we've never seen before. So scientists and researchers expect this summer to be record breaking in regards to these extreme temperatures. So, and then, of course, a lot of people within the Southwest areas of the US are also concerned about hydroelectricity, especially due to the fact that levels at both Lake Mead, Lake Powell, and the Hoover Dam are reaching dead pull levels. So this is a apocalyptic situation that people really need to be aware of and prepare for a little bit more, because this could lead to a disastrous situation. And it seems like people just don't want to, you know, admit that humans are causing climate change, or admit that, Earth is entering a new phase, a new cycle, and the weather is becoming more extreme. Each way, whether climate change is caused by human activity or if climate change is caused by a natural process, we are still, as a society, are going to have to mitigate the risk and basically protect these vulnerable communities. Because what's going on is that we basically have an ideology of the upper notches of society, basically the global north, not being concerned about the well being and basically the lives of these most vulnerable communities. So there has to be more effort, more mitigation, and more involvement with the global north in these upper notches of society. I guess they don't want to be involved, or they're not really concerned about being involved due to the fact that climate change impacts them less because they have more resources to protect themselves from the devastating impacts of climate change. But what's kind of funny is that this whole ideology is starting to change, especially along the coastlines, because they say by 2050, large cities in America, such as Los Angeles, Santa Monica, Venice, could be completely submerged by flooded waters by 2050. And they also expect billions of dollars in infrastructure damage caused by rising sea levels. So a lot of these multi-million dollar properties that are located on the coastline will eventually, within the next few decades or so, be destroyed. So definitely a lot of people could not have anticipated the sudden increase in our ocean levels. And this prediction of 2050 could actually come a lot sooner due to the fact that scientists and researchers have discovered a dire situation going on in Antarctica. So, scientists discovered this doomsday glacier. So, what's going on in Antarctica is that we basically have one of the largest chunks of ice ever, basically being divided off. And there is a strong possibility that this doomsday glacier could melt and basically cause a major increase in sea levels, because researchers and scientists say that just a 1 foot increase in sea levels could lead to a complete disaster. So, definitely a very interesting situation. And there's also another dire situation going on in Antarctica, basically in the Arctic region, that a lot of people are unaware of too as well. And this new threat is caused by climate change. And what we have going on is that bird flu is decimating these penguin populations in Antarctica. So not only are the penguins being decimated by bird flu, but they're also being decimated by the melting ice because a lot of these penguins depend on the ice to birth and raise their little ones, basically their little chirplings or chicks. So what we have going on is that we have mass mortalities of penguin chicks in the Antarctic due to the melting of the sea ice because this provides the habitat to be able to birth and raise these chicks. So they expect penguins to not last long on Earth, just like the polar bear. So definitely a very dire situation. Then on top of that, on top of the bird flu, on top of the melting ice, there's also another deadly threat in the Arctic region that a lot of people are not aware of too as well, and that's the threat of deadly zombie viruses. So basically, what we have going on is that we have a lot of permafrost being melted in the Arctic region, and much of this permafrost is ancient. And within this ancient permafrost, what's also is being released are these ancient dormant viruses. So these viruses are extremely deadly due to the fact that humans don't have the immune system to protect themselves from these viruses, due to the fact that humans didn't evolve, they weren't around and didn't evolve during the time that these viruses were present. So if they were to be reintroduced in today's society, it would be very deadly. And then you also have to consider, too, as well, is that each virus requires a specific medical response. So if there was a new outbreak, that means that scientists and researchers would have to come up with new vaccines, new medicines, and also new treatments. So definitely a very fascinating situation. And the perfect example of this would be in, I believe it's 2015 or 2016, when they had that massive mortality event of reindeer in Siberia. So basically, what happened was that melting permafrost caused the virus anthrax to be released within this section of Siberia. And basically, what happened was that they had massive die offs of reindeer. So what a concerning situation. Whole lot of apocalyptic threats going on in today's society. And what's going on in today's current times with diseases, wars, flooding, climate change, increased temperatures, and even with all of these insects, these cecidians, this is a perfect match to a lot of the biblical testaments and basically foretellings in the Bible. So in the Bible and in all of these Old Testaments, they talked about floods, they talked about wars, they talked about diseases, they talked about the climate changing, and that's exactly what we're seeing in today's society. So definitely a very perplexing situation that we have going on because a lot of people are becoming alarmed, especially people that really know religion and scriptures, because they say that basically ancient people were just as wise and as intelligent as people today, or even more intelligent. It's just that they were able to use nature in a way that's technology based to be able to survive. So a lot of people say that ancient people had the ability to use nature as technology. So there is a whole lot of uh, research being done that says, there is a possibility that ancient people were able to use certain vibrations, certain frequencies within nature to accomplish amazing feats, such as building the pyramids. And there's also a lot of speculation that ancient people had a lot more spiritual and mental, uh, basically, talents, such as telekinesis. So definitely a very interesting situation. And there's also a whole lot of speculation and theory too that there could have been advanced civilizations that existed thousands and thousands of years before us that were actually more advanced technologically wise than people today, because modern basically the difference between modern day humans and ancient people is that we use the material world to power our technology. So a lot of our technology is based on the industrial revolution and machines and basically metal and all of this, you know, grinding of materials and resources and stuff like that. But the ancient people used nature. They were able to tap into nature's technology to be able to accomplish a lot of the things that we see today. And a lot of the structures that were built, back in ancient times, a lot of the ancient alien theorists and archaeologists say that even with today's tools and machines and technologies, that we couldn't even replicate what ancient people did back in the past with their buildings and monuments and basically ancient temples and construction designs and so forth. So, definitely a very interesting situation. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens within the next decade or so, because a lot more people are going to demand a lot more solutions due to the fact that their lives will become to start being impacted more due to climate change. So this is something that we can't run away from. But what a fascinating state of today's world. Seems like each day there's a possibility that anything can happen when you turn on the TV and news, whether it be some type of another climate event, whether some type of war situation, whether it's a terrorist event or some type of political event. Seems like, the world is in a state of chaos like never before. So, this is like kind of like the feeling that I get in today's society. I feel like, we're building up all of this energy, all of this chaos, and basically it's basically in a big bubble, and we're all kind of waiting for it to burst. So, definitely a very interesting situation. And then, of course, a lot of people were shocked with the news about Trump being convicted on 34 felons. And basically, there's two opposing sides that says basically there's one side saying that Trump deserved his convictions and that basically he is a fraudster and criminal. And then, of course, there's another opposing side that says, hey, this guy is innocent. And there's a lot of crazy things going on in America that's not right, and he plans to fix it. And the people that convicted him basically want America to stay in a state of chaos. But definitely two opposing sides. I don't pick one. I just restate the facts, the statistics, as far as exactly what's going on. But definitely have a lackluster situation going on with the people in control of America. So definitely has to be a new leader, preferably a younger leader with a brighter mind. Because basically, what we have going on in America, basically, it's a generational war between the old minds and the new minds. So seems like all of our presidents have been older people with older ideologies or older people that are associated with a lot of, people with these old perspectives. And a lot of people say that Obama could have been one of these people because he was heavily, heavily influenced by, Bill Clinton, by George Bush, by Biden, and all of these old heads. So would be nice to see a new young person become president, someone who's basically has the mind of a young person, but then also the wisdom of a old person. So definitely a very interesting situation. But both presidents have their good and bad sides and basically perspectives, because a lot of people don't like Trump due to the fact that he's not really concerned about climate change. It seems like more or less watching and observing, what's most important to him, it seems like he's pushing more for fossil fuel emissions and basically pushing more for natural resources within America, such as natural gas and so forth. And this does have positive benefits with America's economy, because a transition too quickly from fossil fuels to renewable energy could definitely destroy America. So if America does make the transition from fossil fuels to being able to run completely off of renewable energy, it should be done in a methodical, strategical way and just not overturned too quickly. Because, like I said before, much of the country depends on fossil fuels and gas. So that is a perspective that makes a lot of sense. But Biden's perspective is that we need to take action now. The world is in a state of chaos. Climate change is basically going to get to the point where Earth is not going to be livable. So, definitely some pros and cons on both sides. But what a interesting situation, going on in today's society. I'm just kind of like in awe, because I've never seen a point in history where we've had so many things going on at once, with wars, diseases, flooding, political events, basically moral values, ethical values being challenged in today's society. What's good? What's right? What's male? What's female? So, definitely a very interesting situation. That's for sure. But I personally think that basically the only way that we can get ourselves out of this situation would be through some type of radical overturning of the government or some type of radical event, because nothing is going to change the path that we're currently on with climate change. And that's exactly what the Pope recently said too as well. He basically said that we're on a road, basically on a road in a car that cannot be turned around. So we've done too much to the earth, to the environment, and we're too within the process and too within our values and morals, especially within America, to change. So we're definitely on a one way path towards destruction, and there's not much that we can do. And that's exactly what the Pope restated too as well recently. But like I said before, our only hope would be some type of radical action. And an example of this would be Vermont being the first state to actually take fossil fuels companies accountable for climate change. But definitely a very interesting set of topics. But thank you.